Welcome to Patty's Aquatics. My name is Adam and welcome to my fish room. So today what I want to do is give you guys a closer look at this tank, my rainbow shiner tank. I want to give you guys more of an update and show you how it's been doing the last few weeks, mostly because, well, I removed the piece of driftwood that was in there because, well, it's been causing a lot of issues when it came to algae, and I want to show you really the difference it's made since I removed that piece of wood. So with that being said, let's turn this camera around and let's get going. Welcome to Patty's Aquatics. All right, so this is an overview of my 29-gallon rainbow shiner tank. Now, before we get started, let me make a few notes. This tank has not had a water change in probably 2 weeks since I initially removed that wood I mentioned in the open there. So I want to show you guys what an actual look of this tank is. I'm not going to just quick do a water change and clean up the little bit of algae just to make it look perfect. I want to show you what realistically what my tanks look like, and that's what my channel is really about. So to get in close a little bit, these shiners are just absolutely fabulous. I absolutely love them. Some days when they shine up just with that bright pink and purpley colors, it's freaking awesome. Today they're a little drab, so they must not be in their mating colors, but they're still cool when you catch them with the right lights. But first, let's talk about really what this video is more about. And, you know, I was struggling so long in this tank with heavy algae, heavy clumps algae, and so much organics on the substrate from broken down, that wood breaking down. It was creating so many algae issues in this tank. Now, there is still some algae in here. It is not cured. It's only been about 2 weeks since I removed that piece of wood, but things have drastically changed already just from the removal of it. If I can go back and probably show you basically what my tank would look like with that wood in there and just how much algae really was shown from it, that came from it. There's a huge difference from that really to what's going on now. So I used to get so much algae on the wall, it would clump back into there. It would just be clumps within here, within the wood or within the plants. I still get a little bit up on top of there on the tube from the sponge filter. But I was getting this, I don't know if it was blackberry algae, but it definitely looked like it started on the tips of my dwarf sage there. And it was so much of it. But removing that wood was a lifesaver really for this tank because it has got rid of those organics, got rid of all that breaking down of that wood in the tank, which was leading to a lot of issues. Like I said, one definitely was the algae, but I would get cloudy water once in a while, and I believe it was from that wood breaking down. And the mess that it would make, like right now, like I said, it's been 2 weeks since I've done a water change. I have a little bit of detritus and mulm on the bottom of my tank, but I would have, if when that wood was in there, you could see like a layer, like you'd have, it was thick, and it was always in this area from that wood. So the removal of that wood itself, like I said, has made a huge difference when it came to that. Now, what I did is I put a bunch of rocks in, and then I put this new piece of Anubias in there. So the Anubias I had in there that was on that piece of wood is just covered in algae. I could never get it off. I would wipe the leaves off here and there, but it would get encased within that algae again within like a day or two. This doesn't have a lick of algae on it. Now, like I said, yes, there is some algae in the tank. There's some on these rocks here yet. I have a little bit up on the top of here and some within here. But like I said, after 2 weeks from removing that piece of wood, I've made such a difference. Now, when it comes to the wood itself, I'll just say that there are good woods to add to your tanks. Like I have some Apani wood and some spider wood in some of my other tanks, and for years, and they're fine. The piece of wood that I had in here was one that I collected on my own from nature. From nature. And I assumed that it was a harder piece of wood. I did have it in my tanks for a couple years, but obviously it was not as hard of a wood as I thought it would have been, because like I said, it was breaking down. It was creating a lot of waste in my aquarium, and I think that's something that us as hobbyists who do collect wood from nature to put into our aquariums, which I think is a cool thing, don't get me wrong. It's just was basically a way to remind myself that you need to be more diligent on what you're really grabbing to put in your aquariums, because if you don't have something that's really hardwood, it's going to break down a lot faster, which can cause issues within your aquariums. Like I said, algae, that waste, cloudy water can create bacteria blooms, just a lot of not good things. So it's really smart to try to find hardwood if you're going to collect it. Like oak, I heard, is a good one from the area in the United States I'm in. There's different types of woods throughout the world. And just being a little more diligent in what you find and what you want to put in your tank is probably a big thing. So that's really the difference what made with this, removing that wood. And I think long term it's just going to get better and better. I do have algae on the glass. I've had that for quite a few months. I had thought about scraping it. It's like green spot algae, that really hard stuff. You almost need a razor blade to get it off. But it really doesn't bother me too much for two reasons. One, I think algae itself typically isn't really a bad thing. I mean, if it's on your plants, it can harm your plants, but on your glass, it's more aesthetics to me. It is a type of basically plant that's going to help pull nutrients out of the water column. But more so than anything with this tank, rainbow shiners can be a little skittish. So having that thicker algae of that green spot on the walls, I have a black background, but like on the sides here, that can help kind of stop some of the light and things from the other tanks from coming in, so they maybe don't get as skittish and jumpy. That's one way I'm kind of thinking about it. But I think overall, once things completely balance in here, now that I got rid of that piece of wood, it kind of set me back. But getting out of that piece of wood out of here, I think in the coming months, things are going to balance more. And honestly, a lot of this algae might start to dissipate on its own. But that's the algae part of it. Now the tank itself, it's doing great plant-wise. I can throw some footage in here of what it looked like when I first set it up. But the plants themselves have grown in tremendously. These crypts up here have been doing great. It's coming in nice and thick. If you go down here, these crypts as well, they were small little spindly ones, but they are coming in nice and thick and steady. Now I do put root tabs in this tank. So this is a tank that I do use root tabs in the substrate for the crypts. And I also use water column liquid fertilizers. I use Aquarium Co-op's Easy Green. I've been dosing probably like once every 2 weeks or so right now. I've been trying not to overdo it, just because, especially in tanks like this where I have some algae issues, I don't want to put extra food within the water column. And I have cut down on how much I feed my fish lately too. I had been feeding my fish every day, but I cut that back down too. I'm feeding them about once every other day to every third day. It's hard because feeding your fish is probably the most fun part, at least for me, when it comes to the fishing, caring for them, to watch them eating and stuff like that. But in the long run, overfeeding your tanks it's not good for your fish, but it's also obviously not good for your tanks, because it creates more maintenance, more algae, and more cleanup. So I've been trying to cut back on that a little bit too. But like I said, the plants themselves are doing really great. Once I get past this algae completely, I think this tank is even going to be greater. I love the flow that I get for these guys, and they seem to love it too, having this nice big open area. If you remember, this tank used to be a dirty tank, and I had it full of plants and stuff, and they were doing okay in here, but there was a lot of vegetation, and I feel like more of this open swimming area has benefited them more. They really like that, I believe. These guys are coloring up back here a little bit, just if you can notice that. So that's kind of interesting and cool. But yeah, I really believe that they love this open swimming room more a little bit. It gives them more freedom to swim around and probably be more natural like they would in the wild. Now, I don't know if you can see this. Since I started this video about not even 10 minutes ago, the colors on them have changed a little bit. See, if you notice, for me, whenever I turn the lights on in the morning, sometimes they're like that drab color, but that's when all of a sudden those colors and that mating stuff will kick in, and then the next time I'll look a little bit later, they're going to be bright pink. So we'll see what happens here. But yeah, these fish themselves, the rainbow shiners, are probably one of my favorite fish. Obviously, yes, I have my Oaxaca puffer and stuff, which I absolutely love, but these guys as a fish itself, a schooling fish, they're just phenomenal with these colors. I love them. One, you don't need heaters. You just give them a little bit of flow and some swimming room and some decent lighting and stuff, and they just thrive. And they will not disappoint with those colors. Like I said, you don't get that full like pink color every single day, all day long with them. But when they do, it is a show, and it is so cool to see them. And that's what I absolutely love about these fish as well, just to be able to just look at the colors of the fish, because to me, it's like one of the most colorful freshwater fish there are, especially for ones that you would find like in a stream and a river. I mean, that's pretty cool to me. So overall, this tank is doing great. It's on its upward turn now, like I said, now that I moved that piece of wood. And I think that long term, like I said, that it's just going to get better. And as far as breeding these guys, that was still a goal of mine in the future here. If you remember, if you've been watching my channel, when I set this tank up, I did put this little bit of a rock pile here because that was my initial goal, was to try to breed them in their tank. Well, they like to breed over rocks. So my idea was, by having a separate little area of just a rock pile, that once they start to breed, this will be the area they know to go to breed to. And then I can try to put something in there. Like I've seen different contraptions, like little trays with mesh on top, and you put some rocks on it so when they breed, the eggs fall in, and then you can pull that out. So I'm thinking something along those lines eventually. But now that I put these big rocks in here with this Anibius on it, I don't know if that's going to cause an issue with that, with having different areas to be able to breed over. But we'll see when time will tell when it comes to that. I'm not really at that point right now. And secondly, I kind of thinking about getting more to add to this colony. I would like probably like 5 or 6 more of them to fill this in a little bit more. Last time I got some, there was 2 of them that just, they almost are like runts in here. I don't know where they are right now. Oh, there's one right there. It's the same age as some of these other ones, like that one there. It's not as big as the other ones either, but for some reason they didn't get as big as the other ones. But you know what? I don't care. They're still cool little fish. They're going to live in this tank with them. And, you know, the long scheme and the scheme of things, if I can talk correctly here, is if they breed and I get them to breed, cool. I always like to try to breed my fish as more of a, you know, experience to try to do things with them. Not so much out of like monetary or like anything like that, more of like a self-accomplishment to say, hey, you know, these fish must be doing good if I'm getting them to breed. But I just love these fish. Just having a tank for them to live their life out and to show their beauty is just as cool as anything else to me. So anyway, so I hope you enjoyed the video. I will keep you updated more with these. I think I'm going to have probably a full fish room tour coming up in the coming months, and we'll show things a little better. So hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Be greatly appreciated. Like I said, I will update you guys on this tank and all the other ones yet. So if you ever had interest in rainbow shiners, they are one cool fish, and you can make plenty of escapes with them. I love this little type of mini rivery type look one. Long term, like I said, I think in past videos, I want to get a longer tank for these guys and upgrade the colony even more. But till then, this is my 29-gallon little rainbow shiner tank, and I hope you enjoyed it. I hope to see you again next time. Patty's Aquatics.
Thanks for watching, and hope to see you next time here at Patty's Aquatics.